The point of this one is don't get mesmerized by the codes. I made a vlog a few weeks ago. It was called Networks, Codes, and Unconscious Conspiracies. And basically, the whole point of that vlog had everything to do with the fact that a lot of what's going on with the so-called matrix codes and the symbols and numbers and all of it, everything that builds this reality and makes this reality happen, essentially a lot of it's unconscious processes. And as I spoke of in my other vlog here, essentially, you know, matter in our material solid world is precipitated from subtler levels, and really spirit interacting with matter. And really this material matrix and its design are at our disposal, and the codes of this matrix should be serving us. I think that the interaction between spirit and matter is what creates the individuated soul. And I think that once that happens, that is what immortality is. And the immortality is the soul moving on and existing eternally. You're never going to have immortality on the physical plane. You'll never have it in the body, and because the codes won't allow it. Everything in this matrix decays. Nigel Kerner does a lot of good description of this. Basically, everything rots. And so when you find those who would prefer to not have to face death and return to spirit and lose their personality mask that their soul has put on in this matrix, because some souls get very lost in the mirror of matter, and they're very sucked down this entropy. And so a lot of people think this reality is a trap and blah blah blah, and I think on some levels it is, but the fractal matrix, it just is. It's not, it is a trap in that, you know, once you manifest into it, you have limitations. If you're going to have form, you're going to have limitations. And so basically, when we come into this matrix, the danger is getting mesmerized by the codes and identifying externally with the codes of the matrix, okay? And so what I find, and that's happening to all of us in this symbolism of the fall, when Eve ate the apple, or there's other ways the fall symbolism is expressed, but for whatever reason, we ended up very entrapped and disconnected in this reality, and the goal is to reconnect with ourselves. And so pretty much ever since I got on YouTube, what I'm noticing is a lot of people are very stuck in a certain way of thinking that has to do with being mesmerized by the codes. And it is a victim kind of thinking, and it's natural because we're being victimized all the time by the way this is being manipulated, by the way this matrix has already been set up. There's a lot of, you know, like I said, there's a lot of history, and there's a lot of thought forms in place, and there's a lot of energetics already in place, and there's a lot that's already been manifested that you can't just wipe away. I mean, maybe the sun could explode and wipe it away, but then it would all have to be rebuilt again. So in a way where it's like those of us who want a better world and want to have fun in this matrix are looking around like, you know, we're not having fun. The codes are not serving us. They're suppressing us. What can you do? Well, the only reason to learn about the matrix codes and to learn the symbols and learn about the numbers is so that you can write code. And what I'm seeing, instead of people really taking some initiative and creating from the spiritual part of themselves, is the personality and the ego get totally lost in this. You become disconnected from who you really are, and your personality and everything becomes influenced and programmed by identifying with what is outside, and what is being by identifying with the matrix, really. So anyway, what I'm noticing is that people are focusing on learning about these codes and symbols and whatnot, and yet all they're really doing in many, many cases is demonizing it. And what people will do is they'll like take that stupid, like that, okay, for instance, that Super Bowl ritual that Madonna did, and then subsequently the next year Beyonce did a ritual. Those Super Bowl rituals got so much attention on YouTube and the blogs and whatnot. And it was like, why is this getting over attention when we know that these people are doing negative rituals to entrance us? You know, and a lot of people are very good at deconstructing it to break the trance. But a lot of people are not. A lot of people are enhancing the trance through their pathetic version of deconstructing it. I mean, really. And I understand we need to pay attention and identify what these people are doing. I get it. But paying attention is giving currency. Attention really is your currency. You pay it because that's what your energy is going to follow. And your reality is going to follow according to what you're focusing your attention on in a lot of ways. And they want our attention. That's all they want. They would have killed everybody off by now if we weren't giving them enough attention. And when the elite are in these vampiric type of people who, as I said, are lost in the mirror of matter, and they're very toxic, you know, they are basically, you know, their whole point is if they're not getting enough attention, they're going to do something negative to get it. But so all of this focus on deconstructing and looking at these rituals, like people are like, the end result is a lot of people are like, oh, we're being victimized by these codes. Oh, there's Baphomet, there's the Isis symbolism, there's Saturn, there's the triangle, the pentagram. Like, people identify the symbols that these elite fuckers are using, and then they demonize those symbols. And that's the mind control in a nutshell right there. When you've done a lot of work on this and you've gotten over the being mesmerized by the codes, and you have to some degree gotten in touch with yourself beyond this matrix, then everything that's going on in this matrix, you realize how much of a distraction it all really is. And that the people who want to suck you deeper into this and identifying with it and forgetting yourself are the ones who are constantly throwing all this crap your way to keep your mind engaged. And it's all about the mind. You know, the mind is really, it's like a bucking bronco. No matter how much you tame it, it's still going to buck now and then. I suspect that what's happening with the awakening of humanity is that a lot of people are becoming conscious of deeper levels of themselves, and they're able to start to write their own story again, and steer and write. And in the story of your soul, you're able to steer your soul again when you start to come back to that, come back to the love, come back through the heart, and then approach this matrix. And I think that's really hard to do when you've been caught up in the whirlwind. And I don't judge anybody for that, because been there, and I'm always going there. You know, we all have our that which shuts us down and that which engages us. Like, something will happen and trigger you or trigger your mind, and bam, you're totally entranced by this, and that's normal. You know, they talk about the observer consciousness and being able to observe instead of being convinced by it. So, like, you're having a victimizing experience, or you're having something happen to you, there is a part of your mind that's beyond your mind, that doesn't yak inside your head. It's not your inner dialogue. And if you're identifying with your inner dialogue, you're going to have troubles, and you're going to be a tool. But if you're not identified with your inner dialogue being full of matrix codes, that's all it is. Every time you speak, every time you think, you are utilizing this matrix and its codes. So the more you get beyond the mind and back down into the soul, the more you're going to see the mind for what it is, which is a tool. And it's a tool that your soul should be using, not somebody else, and not some damn archon pieces of shit. Anyway, I've yammed long enough, but I wanted to get some of this out because I think that's a super good point. And this is all the kind of stuff I've really been thinking about, because I'm done paying attention to nothing but the problems and complaining. I am so done. I spent years doing that, and I victimized myself by doing that. I want solutions, I want freedom, I want to enjoy myself, and my thoughts have really started to shift, and that the majority of my inner dialogue is much more oriented towards those thoughts and paying attention to what enhances my well-being and the well-being of this planet, so that, you know, as beings that incarnate here, as souls that come here, we're going to have a better time of it, and we're going to get more voltage out of it. We're going to get more love built up. And all of this entropy that's going on, all this negativity, all this, you know, all of this lack of love, and a very sick, pathological, narcissistic identification, without which isn't even real, and I say the matrix, but there's matrices within matrices. It's all a fractal. And this is dense. This is blind. We are, but don't forget, you're an eternal being. This is like what, you know, one lifetime. So remember that, and do your best to radiate the love, because that's going to create a better field around you, and that feedback loop will be affected.